There is nothing like travel to unplug you from your daily mindset, your daily responsibilities, your daily relationships, your daily distractions, your daily you, I think, really. The travel itself, I think, is an experience that just gives you a fresh start. And then I think that along with these trips that we are doing, there might be a theme that's resonating with you, or there might be a culture. Travel gives us that kind of opportunity where we examine our own lives and examine our own selves.
I am Gloria Grace Rand, founder of The Love Method and author of the #1 Amazon bestseller, Live, Love, Engage: How to Stop Doubting Yourself and Start Being Yourself. In this podcast, we share practical advice from a spiritual perspective on how to live fully, love deeply, and engage authentically, so you can create a life and business with more impact, influence, and income. Welcome to Live, Love, Engage. Namaste. Imagine stepping away from life's noise to discover your deepest wisdom alongside women who truly see you. Well, today's guest is going to help us explore how travel, sisterhood, and intuition create the perfect storm for awakening your authentic self and transforming your business from the heart outward. And I can't wait for it. But first, I do want to welcome you to Live, Love, Engage, especially if this is your first time joining us. I am Gloria Grace, founder of Align to Shine Academy, and I empower women over 50 to step into their highest potential with clarity and confidence. And this wonderful guest who I'm bringing on here in just a moment is really aligned with that, because she is Jennifer Dale, and she's the founder of Honest Heart Journeys. I was almost going to say honest because I was anticipating saying heart. So I'm just going to start over. She is the founder of Honest Heart Journeys, a transformative travel community for women over 50, like me. She's a blogger, speaker, and also host of her own podcast called The Honest Heart. And Jennifer is passionate about sisterhood, intergenerational understanding, and soulful adventures that foster personal growth, deep connections, and the courage to embrace new experiences at any age of life. And yeah, like I said, she's speaking my language. So without further ado, I'm going to bring you, Jen, onto the show and just say welcome to Live, Love, Engage.
Oh, thank you. When you were talking about it, I thought our audiences are just so perfectly aligned. What a natural conversation.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And I figured that's actually a good place to start. Is what inspired you to create Honest Heart Journey, specifically for that particular demographic, shall we say?
I think that demographic is just navigating so much transition and change in our lives. We can be an empty nester. We can, maybe our marriage status has changed. For me, I was at a point where I was leaving my career behind and really looking ahead to reconnecting with my life and thinking more about my legacy. It really, though, for me, all began when I was on my own personal healing journey in 2020, just as COVID started. And you probably have heard so many COVID stories as you're visiting with people. But in 2020, I left a job right at the beginning of COVID that had left me feeling pretty empty, pretty frustrated with how I'd handled the situation. Not a lot of trust around me. And I just had to reconnect with who I was. And I had been working with teen women. So it was a beautiful time to just move away from what I'd been doing, to reconnect with my husband. We settled in an entirely different city than where we'd been and reconnected with each other. And I really needed to heal from that situation and refine myself. And, I think a lot of women have done that before in their lives, where I know when I was raising young children, I had to say, who am I? I've been taking care of everyone else. So really, it was my own couple of years of healing and really becoming a different person at that point. And I recognized that the women I've been working with and coming out of my own experience, it was time to kind of redefine womanhood and sisterhood and how we are in community with one another. There's so many stereotypes about women and how they treat one another. Worth is a big thing. So many of us deal with, what is my value? How is my worth defined? Certainly happened with teen women as well. And I just wanted to kind of lift that sense of, gosh, women can be there for one another. We don't have to compare and criticize and all of the stuff that we can get labeled with and social media plays into in our lives. I was ready to look forward and just nurture community. And that's something that I've done in my career for years with our community. So I think now it's all about, life is about living love. It's about our relationships. And so we got to align with ourselves first.
Oh, yeah. And I so relate to that. And I want to ask you, though, a question, because it's interesting. Yeah. You mentioned social media. And so I see, in fact, actually, I think I'm in a group for like women over 50, and it's like a friendship group. And I will periodically, from time to time, see people complaining that they can't make friends with women over 50. So I'm curious how you're, when you take women on these tours,
right?
Are you attracting women who are already friends, or are they, just as you said, people who are looking to, to be able to just try some new experiences, and maybe they start to form some friendships along the way?
Right. I think it's really both. There definitely are women out there, and I would say in our demographic we're talking about, we are in the process of kind of dropping a lot of labels, a lot of cultural labels put on us, a lot of expectations. And so a lot of those women come and they're a little trepidatious of like, are you kidding me? Spending all this time with a bunch of women? I'm not so sure that I'm up for that. And some of them will say their husbands are like, I don't know why you're doing this. And then they do find that just really honest connection, genuine connection with other people. And many of them have come home and said, I don't know what just happened. I was just there with you for 10 days. And I feel like all the women I met on this trip know me better than all my friends at home who've known me for years. What was it? What happened there? So they come on their own. They come looking for a more authentic connection, kind of dropping the masks. But then we also have some really fun connections where it's an intergenerational experience. And maybe a mother will bring a daughter, and you kind of see healing in their relationship happening before you. Or a sister will bring a sister for her 50th or 60th birthday, whatever it is. So they're celebrating milestones in life by traveling together and sharing these experiences they're always going to remember. They're making more memories. So it's really both, I think, Grace. Yeah.
I love that. And I love how it's that you do foster that intergenerational connection, which I think is so important. Especially as we get older, we do hopefully tend to have some wisdom that we can, sometimes really hard-earned wisdom that we can pass along to a younger generation. And also younger generations can teach us stuff too. Like I have, a wonderful daughter who is 30 years younger than me, and she has taught me a lot about my business, frankly, about, because she actually, majored in that in college, and she's been very good about saying, Mom, you should do it this way, and Mom, you should do it that way. And I'm like, okay. Yeah, she's right.
Now, I think we're at a stage in our generation, and I have a daughter who's the same age too, and I've seen this shift in where there's less of a hierarchy, where I think we are listening to our daughters, and technology has a lot to do with that, because probably that's one reason why she's helpful with your business, is just everything has just changed so much for us in our lifetime. So we're listening more to them. They're able to teach us more. They have access to information on the web that they don't even have to ask us for. So that's happening. My hope is that wisdom you talked about, it's like we're now at that point in our lives where we care less about what others think. Finally, at least that's how I am. Finally, I care less. And I just really am living into my wisdom. I'm living into the lessons I've learned in life. And my hope is that there's even more of a respect for us. There's more of a respect for wisdom. I think in other cultures, and that's one of the things we do in our trips, is we explore other cultures, women in other cultures, and there's more of an appreciation for elders in other cultures. And I think that in these trips, I see the younger women appreciating us more and having a little more patience. And I think that's a really good thing.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because I know when we're younger and we're raising kids, and they're younger, of course, they know everything. They think they know everything, and then they get to a point where they're like, oh yeah, I guess maybe mom does know a few things, but it takes a couple decades for that realization to kick in.
I think I think when they become parents, my daughter just had her second, so she's got babies. I think they have a new appreciation for us.
That's true.
For sure. Yeah. But I think they are looking to what we offer more than we did. And I'm grateful to see that, for sure.
Yeah. So let's see, I'm trying to think, which way do I want to go? Where because there's so many things to talk about here. And so actually, I think I'll talk about this, because you sort of alluded to that at the beginning when you said that some women are like, I don't know about joining this. So
right,
what other kind of fears do you see when they before they commit to these journeys, and how do you help them through that?
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good thing. Well, I would say we really are a sisterhood community. We are a sisterhood. That name in itself has mixed connotations for people. You might have a sister and you guys don't get along great, or you might think it's going to be like a sorority thing and very light and surfacey. And it's none of those things at all. I really love thinking of sistering as a verb, to sister someone, to really walk beside them. What happens on these trips is that we as women begin to recognize, we connect around the things we have in common, around the situations, the lessons, the challenges, the questions we're asking. I've seen on trips, I've seen two women who both lost their husbands in deep conversation, and one who sharing with the other how she coped with it because the other one had just lost her husband. I've just so many situations in life. I've seen women talking about their kids and how they handle their kids. And one of the big things that's come up is this idea of, well, how do you be a parent too without parenting your adult children? And we all sit there and go, it's good to have people who are in the same time in life talking about the things that are important and the things that relate to our relationships. So if someone has a question, I always say, let's get on the phone and talk about it. And I think the idea of being with all women, because of those stereotypes I talked about at the beginning of our conversation, thinking that women are going to compare themselves or criticize or, all of the things that happens that we think is going to happen when women get together, that to me stems from our own sense of a lack of self-worth. If we are whole, if we celebrate the wholeness in someone else, if we're able to tell her what we see in her, if we're lifting each other up rather than tearing each other down for ourselves to get higher, that's a completely different way to go about a relationship. The other thing we do on these trips is we always have a book that we read before we go. And that book gives us a common language, a common experience that we connect around. And the conversation goes just deep because of that book. It guides us right away. And we'll do some workshops before we go so that we're familiar with what we're doing. We do have, for instance, every year we take a Camino trip on the Camino de Santiago, a pilgrimage trip in Spain. And when we do that trip, we do the work of Byron Katie. And we learn how to do the work of Byron Katie and how to question the beliefs in our lives that cause us suffering. And so then we do it together and we companion each other as we do that. So that's how we take it deep. And I think that's when the people know they're going to go deep in that way, they recognize, oh, this isn't just a party or a bunch of catty women.
Right. Yeah. And there were so many things that you touched on there that getting me to remember. And because I used to belong to a group called Mothers and More.
Yes.
And it was a wonderful place for women, working women, stay-at-home moms, whatever. And we had women who had little kids, and then we had women who had older kids like me. And at the time, they were like a middle school age, I think. And so it's wonderful to be able to compare notes, and then I could kind of share some of my experiences when mine were little, and say, yeah, those feelings you have, they're normal. And so I love that. That's what you're encouraging.
It is. And, I love that you shared that because it makes me realize that those things are built in for us early on when we're raising kids. We can stand next to another mother on the side of the soccer field. And when we're raising our kids, the parents around us are our cohorts, so to speak. But as we get older, as we leave the office where we've been able to stand around the water cooler with others or just have that back and forth, work in teams and collaborate as we leave the office, as we leave our kids no longer needing us, them, flying the nest, that it's like, okay, what's my purpose now? Who are my people? What's my tribe? Who do I belong to? Who do I go to when I have a question or I have a need? We need that so much in our lives now. And frankly, I think we're more ready for it than ever because I think now we're curious. We want to grow spiritually. We want to continue to be free. We're just shedding a lot of stuff and responsibilities that have kept us so busy for so many years. I think now at this time in life, I love the idea of, well, I feel like the best is yet to come, not behind me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. I hear like younger women talking about, oh, I'm turning 40 or, oh, I'm turning 50. I'm like, what? Each decade for me has gotten better than the last.
Yes.
And I'm, and now I'm in my 60s. And so I'm anticipating living a long time. So I still want to continue having each decade get better and better. And there's no reason why it can't.
No. When I started this, the two things, what I realized, and this is during COVID, what I realized is that, oh my gosh, the fastest growing segment of travel, which is what we're offering right now, part of what we're offering, is women traveling. By far, women are going everywhere, and they have a sense of courage, and they want to continue to be active, like we were talking about. So the travel for women was growing. Also, the personal and spiritual development and coaching and all of that was coming into play. And so we're kind of fusing those two industries, those two desires that are out there right now, into one experience. And I am such a believer that experiential learning is by far the best way to do it, and to do it in a community. Because I think one of the things I learned on the very first trip we did, I didn't see it coming, but I recognized we need to go inward for our own growth, for sure. It always starts inside, but we really need each other. We need the companionship of others to compare notes or just to celebrate us or keep us accountable. So all of that is in this community and these experiences.
Yeah, that's interesting. And it's interesting today. I was listening to some recording, and it was asking of like, what, to ask yourself, invite yourself, what do you need right now? And what came up for me was love and companionship.
Yes.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's companionship with the opposite sex. It could be, definitely to have friendships. And my word of the year is connection. So it's kind of, fit together like nicely.
It really does. And you mentioned that it doesn't have to be the opposite sex. And that is what I'm seeing, that as women are on their own, maybe sisterhood, maybe other women, the companionship of these kinds of experiences is what you want now in life. Maybe you don't. Maybe you've had that perfect, partner in life. And I certainly have right now. I have that relationship. I have a wonderful husband. He's actually helping me with this business. He believes in what we're doing, and I love that. But there comes a time when other women just step right next to us. I gotcha. I getcha. And let's move forward. So it's been really beautiful to see that for a number of people.
Yeah, I can imagine that for sure. So, let's talk a little bit more about, because you talked about this merging of like the spirituality and personal development with travel. So
yes,
what does that look like in practical terms?
Sure. Every trip we do has a theme, a healing theme to it. And then we facilitate that. And it could be facilitated in the environment. There could be beautiful metaphors as we're unplugged in a canyon on a river, beautiful life metaphors there. Or there could be in the culture, a strong feeling in the culture that you experience there, and it helps you with your own journey. And I'll give you an example. Next January, we are going to Vietnam. And the theme that we have chosen is forgiveness. Everyone I talk to says, you go to Vietnam, you feel the forgiveness in its people. Part of it is their Buddhist practices. Part of it is their history. We've been part of that history. And there's been a lot of people, in their borders, and yet you feel this sense of grace from them. So we will read a book by Jack Cornfield, on mindfulness. We have a mindfulness facilitator who will be there with us. We will learn about mindfulness. It will prepare us at the earlier part of the trip to look at some of the history and some of the circumstances that we may not be aware of that have happened in Vietnam. So forgiveness, resilience. I did a trip to Slovenia, which is all part of that. Yugoslavia used to be communist, then those countries broke apart, and Slovenia is one of them. And when I was there, I just felt such a sense of resilience in the topography that had been so war-torn, in its people. There's just a purity. And so resilience is what we were going to focus on. So those themes, the books that accompany those themes, and then how we journal. We facilitate journaling as part of the way that and then discussion, but it's not about going and just sitting in a circle and talking all the time. We're experiencing it, and then we're processing it together, and then we come home and we continue to talk about it more and facilitate further discussion, and then we are going to be starting an online community as well that's going to keep people tied in together when they.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I was just going to say something, and let's see if I can find that. I had a really good question. Oh, fudge. Okay. You know what? It'll come back to me, because I know it was because you were
one of the themes, or where we're going, or.
Oh, darn. Okay. I'm just gonna change gears, and I know it's gonna come back to me. Yeah, I don't know. So well, actually, no, I do want to go here. So how do like having these new experiences, how can that. No, I know what I was going to ask. Now I remember. And this is a better question. That was okay, but it's like, nah. No. What's like been maybe one or two of sort of the biggest surprises that you have experienced or seen maybe in running these groups?
Yeah. I think I mentioned the intergenerational piece of it. three
Right.
generations. We've had trips with 19-year-olds up to 75-year-olds, and we had one trip last year where there were 3 generations in one family. And part of that is maybe the daughter having some complaints about mom, and then the other women holding space for that and really encouraging her. And maybe, you know what it's like when someone else says to your child the exact same thing you've said, but they don't take it from you, but somehow they listen a little differently to someone else. So I think that intergenerational piece of it, that's something I'm really passionate about, because I think, again, these trips want to be healing. I want this community to be healing. And I think that there's so much division out there. This idea of our finding our oneness and what we have in common, we need to understand each other better. And so with the intergenerational piece of it, what are the questions we can ask? How can we understand where the other generation's coming from, so that we can kind of dissolve those frustrations? It's been a journey in my life with my mother. So that has been the surprise. I have seen women. I'll give you one example. There was a woman in her 40s who came on our Camino last year, and she was not in a good marriage. He wanted out. She kept holding tight and hoping he would come back. And she came and had this incredible sisterhood with women spanning several decades, and just came to recognize, I'm worth more than the way I'm being treated by my husband. And then we were there when she walked into this inn one night, and the guy there, they locked eyes, and that was it. And now they're actually in a very sweet relationship themselves. And she said to me, she goes, Jen, no matter where this relationship goes, I now know what I'm worth. And that was the transformation. She said, it changed.
Wow. Yeah. It is amazing what sisterhood can do. And I wasn't on a big trip, but I did go to another location where I was part of a mastermind with all women, and they kind of knew where I was going through in my marriage. And one day after had been talking, they're like, Gloria, why are you wearing your wedding ring? And I was like, because I'm still married, but it was like, yeah, but you don't have to wear it. And I was like, oh, okay. Isn't that interesting? And so I took it off that weekend.
Wow.
and haven't put it back on. So, and I am still married, and it's okay because we get along better now that we're separated. So, and he wears his, but I show up with the bare finger, because that's who I am right now.
Right.
Yeah.
I love how you say that's how I am right now too, because you're going to continue to evolve and grow, and where that's going to go. So that's what you're feeling, and you're being honest about that right now, which is beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I'm going to have to talk to you afterwards about the Camino, because that is something that is like on my bucket list of things to do. So I love that you're doing that. That is so cool. Well, actually, let me ask you about that.
Yeah.
Because why not? Because how much of that do you walk? And actually, for those of you who may not know, why don't you maybe just to explain a little bit about it, and then how do you prepare, or how does that work in your group?
Well, gosh, the Camino de Santiago, it is an old religious pilgrimage, Christian pilgrimage, and there are a number of different trails on the Camino. There's one through Portugal. There's northern Spain. There's there are a number of them. They all end in Camino de Santiago. I'm sorry, Santiago de Compostela at the end. And you know what? Am I frozen? Am I there? Oh, good. Okay. No. Maybe you'll have to edit that a little bit. The Camino is an old pilgrimage that people have been doing for centuries. And It really runs mostly throughout Spain. There is a route in Portugal, but there are a number of routes that all end at Santiago de Compostela, near Portugal in Spain, at the cathedral there. And many people do it for religious reasons. I will tell you, most people come to the Camino with a question, or they're in transition in their lives and they're listening for an answer. And the Camino gives you what you need. I am not kidding. I've experienced it. It just has a way of being there for you as you're walking, whether you're walking 1 week, 2 weeks, up to 4 or 5 weeks if you're doing the whole thing. And so we do about 2 weeks worth on our trip. So we're doing 3 segments of it in 3 years. And then we will repeat again, but we walk every day and we transport your luggage and have it waiting for you. And you listen for your yes and your no and where you want to go and how fast you want to go and who you want to go with. But there are people from all over the world who on the Camino. And you really do find answers, and some of them are surprising. You find guidance. So yeah, it's a beautiful blend of activity and reflection.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I'm gathering my thoughts here. Because,
I love it.
Well, I'm going to go into a little bit of the business angle here. So my audience is typically women entrepreneurs. So how can they use travel experiences like this to actually help them in their business, maybe to, clarify their vision or offerings or something like that?
Yeah. There is nothing like travel to unplug you from your daily mindset, your daily responsibilities, your daily relationships, your daily distractions, your daily you. I think really there's nothing like going somewhere new. The unplugging itself, no matter where you go, is critical because somehow you show up differently and you don't know what's going to happen. So you're a little bit more, maybe you have a little bit more grace with yourself because this is all new. So travel itself, I think, is an experience that just gives you a fresh start. And then I think that along with these trips that we are doing, there might be a theme that's resonating with you, or there might be a culture. We're going to Kenya in 2027, and I just got back from there. And having time with the Maasai is a really powerful experience, being in their culture. And I will never take one of these trips into a culture where I feel like there's not something that's going to make us think about our own lives or make us question our own values or how we do things, or give us just a sense of, I used to do it with students. I took them to Peru and they looked around and they saw all these incredible kids who didn't have shoes on their feet or floors in their homes, but they showed up with huge smiles and brought them flowers. And there was just a sense of grace and generosity that made these kids who had everything back in the States go, wow, I need to redefine wealth. I need to really think about what is wealth really. So travel gives us that kind of opportunity where we examine our own lives and examine our own selves. Hopefully take time to reflect while we're doing it.
Oh yeah. And I do feel it's so important, especially for, people who live in the United States. Often we don't travel to other countries that often. I think it's probably a small percentage. In fact, I think I read somewhere recently that a very small percentage of Americans even have passports, let alone travel outside of the country. And I know, thankfully, both of my kids have traveled in Europe, and in fact, my daughter is living in Europe right now. And I'm so glad. I mean, it took me until, 5 years ago before I finally got to Europe myself. And it was thanks to my daughter who decided that she wanted to go. And I'm like, well, you're not going alone. I'm going with you.
Right.
So come on. but to have that appreciation of different cultures, I think is so important. So if you are someone who didn't do it when you were younger, yeah, being in your 50s is a good opportunity. And then, as
Yeah.
you say, maybe you can bring along your daughter and or mother, to be able
Yeah.
to take advantage of that, or aunt or sister, all of that.
All of them, really, any of them. And
Yeah.
one of those things about talking about intergeneration is that I think our kids travel so much more than we did.
Mm.
Look at your daughter right now. So
Yeah.
they're very comfortable with it. So going with them, tell me where to go. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. She planned our trip. It was she's and she wouldn't even tell me where we were going each day. She's like, just, you'll be surprised. And she was right. And it was awesome.
We used to use travel agents, and now it's just, you just Google it and you figure it all out. So,
yeah.
And I would say that a lot of these women who travel with us, yeah, they are wanting to go now while they can. Some of them say that. Well, I feel like I'm still up to it. And I think the other thing is, sometimes you go to these places and you just feel like, we better go now, because we don't know how these countries are going to change. So many of them are being westernized so quickly. I had that feeling in Kenya when I was just there. It's time to go now. Vietnam is becoming more and more popular. So even in travel itself, different places are hot for a while and everyone's going, and then it's not the same.
Yeah.
So really there's a lot of change happening. So now I think is the time to experience our world, and to really, I think, be in cultures where we are openly listening to one another.
Yeah.
So we can understand each other.
Yes, that is so needed right now. So needed. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
If someone wants to be able to learn more about what you're doing and maybe see about, looking into taking one of these trips, where do people find out about you?
Yes, go to our website, www.honestheartjourneys.com. We're also on Instagram and Facebook. I need to get better about LinkedIn. I'm not yet, but definitely go there. All the information is there, and I always welcome a call to just, really field specific questions that someone may have. And then we are, again, next month, we're launching that community as well through the website. I'm very excited about that. So that
Very cool.
7. Yeah.
I love that. Is there anything else that I should have asked you about that I didn't, or any other last point you want to make with our audience?
I think I would just go back to something I said to you somewhere in our conversation about just the call right now in our world to live love, and to recognize it starts with our relationship with ourselves, and really knowing ourselves and being aware, and our relationship with our divine, whatever our divine or infinite being is, that relationship, getting those right, taking the time to do that, so that then we can go out in community and we bring our strongest self. Because I do believe that the feminine wisdom, the feminine grace and strength, the feminine intuition, you talk about intuition, collaboration, all of those things are so needed right now. And so we can help each other get there, so that it's not just about me as a woman or you as a woman or us even as sisters. It's about the entire world really feeling the grace that is going to heal us and bring us together. That's really what's my impetus.
Very good. Yeah, that's so, I love it. I think it is so important. And I will just say that any way that you can find to build those connections with other women, I just think is so valuable. Yeah, because we can, lift each other up. And I'm even going to put a quick little plug in, because I have a group that I run. It's called the Soulful Women's Network. So we've got a Facebook group, and it really is a way to be able to uplift each other, because was going to say we're all we've got, but yeah, in a way we are. And building those connections with people is so important.
Yeah.
And not only like-minded people, sometimes it's also good to be with
It,
non-like-minded people so that you can learn from them and they can learn from you.
truly, I think that sense of just being open, having those conversations where I want to understand you. Where are you coming from?
Yeah.
We really need to be doing that. So,
Yeah.
and when we may not all be mothers, but we kind of need to mother our world and start with us as sisters. And the book, The Red Tent by Anita Diamond years ago, so many women have read that book, but that sense of women living in community, having that time just together, sacred, and they pass down wisdom and all of that it's okay. That's how we get there, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And it starts with mothering yourself.
Yes.
And so a good way to mother yourself is to give yourself the gift of travel.
Have that connection that stays on from the travel. Absolutely.
Yeah, very cool. Oh, awesome. Thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate you, and I appreciate the work you're doing. I think it's gonna it clearly is helping so many already, and I know you're going to continue to do that because you've got, trips planned for the next couple of years. So awesome.
Thank you so much, Grace. I've loved the opportunity to be with you. Truly.
And I do want to thank all of you for watching and listening today, wherever you are doing this, on your favorite podcast platform or on YouTube. And if you're not subscribed, I hope you will make sure that you are subscribed now so you won't miss another new episode, because they come out every week on YouTube on Fridays and on the podcast platforms on Tuesdays. And until next time, I encourage you to, as Jen was saying, to go out and live fully, love deeply, and engage authentically.